TV podcast.
As we celebrate World Lymphedema Day, we are united in dreaming of a cure.
March 6 is World Lymphedema Day.
Lymphedema.
That's Andrea Mangion.
My name is Andrea Mangion.
She's on a mission to educate the world on this condition.
If we want to win this fight, we need to stand together and educate the world.
It's a disease that affects millions, but only a few have heard about. Lymphedema is the medical term for a kind of chronic swelling and inflammation. American actress Kathy Bates has it.
I was screaming, yelling. You should have been in that room with me.
Cam Ayala from season 6 of the US Bachelor in Paradise has it too.
My name is Cam Ayala. I am a primary lymphedema patient, and I'm about to basically barge in on this group date that I wasn't invited to.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'd never heard of lymphedema before, so thought it was important to make an episode about it.
The whole issue with lymphedema is that it's chronic swelling where we have a problem with our lymphatic system. There's a problem with lymphatic drainage. I could sprain my ankle and have a cankle, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have lymphedema.
Shane has an IT degree and cankles.
But if I recurrently sprain my ankle, the doctor says to me, stop playing hockey, and I say, no, I want to keep playing hockey, and I go and I keep spraining my ankle. Someone barges me with a hockey stick and I get some damage to my lymphatics, that then can become a lymphedema.
Who's that girl?
Andrea Mangion is a lymphedema physiotherapist who's researched the condition extensively.
For a few years now, I've been wanting to write a book. Cancer's at global epidemic proportions, yet none of us understand how the system works. So I want to be able to bring a message that makes people inspired to actually care how their immune system works. And that's where having an understanding of the lymphatic system is key.
But until she's released that book, this episode will have to do.
Oh, this is so unfair!
The lymphatic system is essentially a very sophisticated drainage network. It keeps bodily fluids in balance and fights off disease. New germs are introduced into our bodies almost all the time. The lymphatic system stops germs in their tracks and flushes them out of the body.
She's not welcome here, and neither are you.
So we have our blood that pumps around our body, and as part of that, the fluid component of our blood needs to be filtered. This happens about 3 times a day.
The lymphatic system does this filtering through a network of pipes and lymph nodes. Illnesses can cause these lymph nodes to swell. Doctors know this, so it's what they check for when they feel between your neck and jaw.
Thank you, good doctor.
In developed countries, the most common cause of lymphedema is cancer treatment. If an examination shows that the cancer's spread to your lymph nodes, it's likely they'll have to be removed.
They'll do what's called sentinel lymph node biopsy, with sentinel just being a fancy word for the first main draining lymph node. They'll surgically remove that lymph node and they'll test to see whether there's cancer in that lymph node. Sentinel lymph node biopsy is called a biopsy, but what patients are not being educated on is that it's actually lymph node surgery. It is removing a lymph node from the armpit, and it's one of the most important lymph nodes. It's the lymph node that is mainly responsible for draining the breast and the arm.
Without this important lymph node, patients could go on to develop lymphedema.
You can become more woke.
But lymphedema can also have other causes.
So you can be born with an abnormality in your lymphatic system, for example, decreased number of lymph vessels or decreased number of nodes. One of my good friends, born with primary lymphedema, her dad had it and she's got it, and basically her leg swells. She has a decreased number of lymph nodes that are in her tummy. I've treated a patient who developed a secondary lymphedema because he used to kick the soccer ball with his shoes off. He would kick so much to the point where the skin on the top of his foot was red, and he actually developed lymphedema in the top part of his foot.
With lymphedema, getting a checkup early is key. Andrea talks about how important this is.
If patients start to get signs of swelling and if they intervene early, it can actually reduce their symptoms. There's cohorts of hundreds of people where they have intervened early and they haven't finished the study having lymphedema, which is amazing.
A technology called bioimpedance spectroscopy can detect a swelling even before it's visible.
Bioimpedance spectroscopy may enable the diagnosis of lymphedema at an earlier point in time.
I don't want to scare you. Swelling from general illness is nothing to worry about. It'll naturally go down once you've recovered.
That's a relief.
Prolonged swelling only happens if lymph nodes are damaged or removed. This is what's called lymphedema. Lymph acknowledges your lymphatic system, and edema refers to the fluid buildup that causes swelling.
Lymphedema is not just swelling. If it was swelling, we could simply wrap someone up, we'd bandage them, and we'd be able to get rid of the edema. Lymphedema involves chronic inflammation.
Better safe than sorry. It's the least we can do.
Lymphedema affects around 250 million people globally. If you're experiencing symptoms like the swelling of an arm or a leg, fingers or toes, it wouldn't hurt to have them checked out. Andrea's launched helponline.com.au with information and video explainers on lymphedema.
We have filmed a world expert, and he presents on what lymphedema is, how to reduce your risk, and then how to manage lymphedema if you already have the condition.
I want this episode to be an introduction to what can seem like a confusing, often complicated ailment. We need to speak more about lymphedema. We need to find a cure. Thanks to Andrea Mangion for speaking today, and thank you for listening. I'm Niall Fernandez, and this was quite a serious MTE podcast. There are some videos too, at MTE Podcast on Insta.